Good people, good people, good people. Welcome to another edition of Commander's Wrap, where you get all your relevant Commanders news in 15 minutes. I'm your host, Dr. Wonderful, Doctor of Writing, Professor of English, and avid Commanders fan. Always joined here by my co-host, Kevin Bayne. How you doing today, Kevin?
I am doing great. As good to be here. I hope everyone's doing good.
Exactly. We always hope everyone's doing good. I'm glad you're doing well, Kevin. And we at Commanders Wrap hope our listeners had a great week as well. Our first segment covers the first week of free agency and the bevy. And I do mean bevy of signings the Commanders made this first few days. We'll talk about the best and worst free agent signings, what the Commanders still need, and what it may mean for the draft. First, Kevin, let's start with free agent signings. As of 3 p.m. on Saturday, this show airs on Sunday morning, so forgive us if we've missed someone. The Commanders have signed 20 free agents, but only seven or so are new to the team. Defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle Eddie Goldman, defensive end Dedrick Wise, defensive end Jacob Martin, cornerback Jonathan Jones, guard Nate Herbert, and safety Will Harris. All right, Kevin, let's jump right in because we've been talking about this all week. Of the new guys joining the team, who's the best free agent? And then who's the worst free agent signing? And, start off with the best one.
Okay. The best one that I like the Harris signing. Uh, of course, I would have said Tunsil begin. This is free agent, so Harris at safety. With Chin's departure, that was a hole that needed to be filled. He was a third round pick in 2019 by Detroit. And what I really like about him is I've seen him put some really nasty hits on people. Um, and probably the biggest thing with me with him is versatility. I know I've said that in the past, and just to have experience not only at strong safety, but he also has it at free safety. He's actually played a little bit at cornerback too. Um, he's coming off a solid season with the Saints after playing the last five with Detroit. He recorded 74 tackles, which is the second best of his career and most since 2021. And while playing starting strong safety for the Saints, he also broke up a career high five passes and one pick. So, yeah, I'm really liking that signing. Uh,
I know you were a bit like, I don't know.
yeah,
Will Harris, I don't know if that's a one-to-one replacement, yada yada yada. What changed your mind?
just going in and looking at what we really need, the deal that we got him done for. It wasn't something that broke the bank. Um, coming again, looking at his numbers, coming off career year, the fact that he can play multiple positions. I watched some highlights of him and saw him throw some nasty hits on one on CD Lamb that's really worth watching a couple of times. Uh, and yeah, I think it's going to be a really good fit.
Nice. So, if Will Harris is your best signing, who do you have as your worst free agent signing?
I'm gonna go. I don't want to say worse, but I'll say what I'm very optimistic about because I don't want to be negative, and I think it's only fair to give it a shot. But I don't think anyone can argue that Peters and Quinn don't at least deserve that to throw in the towel in on any move after the season we just had. But I'm a little optimistic about Kinlaw. He spent the first four seasons with San Francisco before signing with the Jets on a 1 year deal. And it was a little surprising for me as it was basically reported from, reputable sources like JP Finley, among others, that Jonathan Allen was being let go essentially as a cost saving move, that it wasn't anything personal and it was strictly business. In hindsight, I don't know if that was completely true. I don't know. But then we turned around and handed Kinlaw a 3 year, $45 million deal. Uh, Allen was due to make $15.5 million this year, and it's essentially the same amount we just gave Kinlaw. And I understand Allen hadn't been playing great by any means, and I'm not trying to compare so much their play with each other, but more or less the money. Um, it's just so it's like we get rid of Allen to save money, and then turned around and gave all those savings, which is 30 million guaranteed to Kinlaw. And look, I know not everyone will agree or have the same opinion as me. And obviously, that's fine. But on paper, I strongly believe Kinlaw's stats with the Jets should have had him at somewhat of a discount. Um, I'll just call it like it is. He was bad in run defense. He finished with a 50.8 PFF run defense grade. He wasn't much better against the pass, tallying 4.5 sacks, and his overall grade was 53.4, which ranked 127th out of 219 guys. And this is him coming off a career campaign with 40 tackles and 4.5 sacks last season, in which are both career highs for him. And then I look at the draft, and it's supposed to be loaded this year with defensive tackles. And I wonder if we couldn't have saved some of that money or put that money towards a more proven impact veteran player. But, Peters was a part of drafting Kinlaw, and obviously thinks he can unlock something here in him that maybe other teams couldn't. So I say all this, but don't get me wrong. I'm not calling it a bust. I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm just optimistic about it. Not every move is going to be, the right move. Maybe this one will pay off. I'm trying to have an open mind about it. I will say this, though. I absolutely love the fact that he did grow up in Northeast DC, and he grew up a Skins fan, a real Redskins fan. And that alone really makes me want to root for him. So fingers crossed, and I'm really hoping for the best here.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, we all want someone to root for. And it's kind of easy to root for Javon. I think if you hear his story and know his story about how he got here. And I certainly understand what you're saying about Jonathan Allen and all of that. Maybe he wants a little bit more, and there's the price consideration with Javon. Kinlaw, I understand all of that, but I think there's always a presumption of how he is going to be used.
Yeah.
And there's always a presumption of how Jonathan Allen was being used, particularly last year. Certain reports did come out that Jonathan Allen did not do what coaches wanted him to do. I know that Craig Hoffman in one of his previous podcasts had mentioned this, and I'm not going to say anything about that other than if a player doesn't do what a coach wants them to do, no matter how great the player is, it's not going to work.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's just all there is to it. It's not going to work. And so that alone is enough to let you know it wasn't going to work because he wasn't willing to do what they wanted him to do. If that report is true, but I don't think that Craig Hoffman would have actually said something like that if it wasn't. He's not known for being that type of reporter.
Right.
So, but either way, Kevin, thank you for your analysis. Like I said, I just think it's a little too extreme to think he's going to be a bust, and
Right.
most of that is on perception of who John Allen was, and of course where Javon Kinlaw was drafted. But I certainly get why this one was considered a bit of a head scratcher,
Yep.
for certain. So thanks so much, Kevin. So we're gonna roll right into our second segment on Commanders Wrap, and it's time to talk draft prospects. And if our first week of free agency tells us anything, Kevin, defensive end could be in the cards for the Commanders. There are two guys that I know that you've been looking at, one of which we've mentioned briefly, which is Texas A&M star defensive end Shamar Stewart. I do not think he's going to be anywhere near us, but also another Texas A&M star defensive end Nick Scorton. So tell us, Kevin, what are your breakdowns of Scorton and Stewart?
Yeah. So, Scorton, again, as you just mentioned, is Texas A&M boy. He's got good size at 6'4", 280 pounds. He transferred from Purdue to Texas A&M for the 2024 season. He was one of the most sought after transfers of that offseason. Uh, I didn't see a whole lot of concerns with him, other than maybe he can improve some consistency with pass rush moves. He's got really good and consistent stats through his college career. He's very strong, versatile frame to where he can play multiple positions. He can consistently set the edge against a run. So yeah, getting a guy that's powerful and can set the edge against a run while also making an impact rushing the quarterback, I think he would be a good fit for us. His draft projection, they were saying it could be day two, somewhere in the second, possibly. So we'll see where it goes. As far as Shamar Stewart, again, also a Texas A&M boy, and this is who I really would love to see us get if he's there. You don't know how the draft's going to go, so anything's possible. But I agree with you. I think he probably will be gone. I like Scorton. I think Stewart's definitely better. Um, he's got great size at 6'5", 281 pounds, and anything athletically this guy can do. He's one of the most physically gifted players in the entire class. He also has a long frame. He's got superior quickness. He is raw, and he might need to work on pass rushing a little bit. But as far as stopping the run goes, this guy looks like a straight animal. With the right team, coaches, and system, which I think is a good fit here in Washington, I can see him being a definite asset. He's projected to be somewhere in the mid first, late first to early second. Obviously, there is better guys in the draft, but I'm looking at where we could possibly be taking an edge at, whether that's late in the first or the second, or obviously if there's a Mike Green or a Mike Howell Williams still there, you take those guys. But again, for them actually being there, I'd be shocked if that happened. But yeah, we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I just feel like defensive end might be where we're going.
Yes.
Um, thanks
Yep.
so much, obviously for your analysis, Kevin. I will say this: the Commanders may need defensive end help in the draft, but I need more picks. That's what Dr. Wonderful needs, and I'd much rather us move out of the first round and collect more draft picks than stick and pick. But
Yeah.
if you gotta have, but you gotta have a dance partner. Everyone's like, oh, we could trade, we could do this, that. You gotta have a dance partner,
Right. Right.
right, at the end of the day. So
Yep.
we'll see how that goes on free agency on draft night. On next week's show, we'll recap the second week of free agency, discuss potential top 30 visits, and answer a question from one of our always and forever Facebook fans. For Kevin Bayne, I'm Dr. Wonderful, Doctor of Writing, Professor of English, and avid Commanders fan. And this has been your weekly edition of Commander's Wrap, where you get all your relevant Commanders news in 15 minutes.